So the first thing to do is to locate the EGR valve, and I do believe that is it, tucked up underneath this plastic shrouding here. So I'm going to be taking that off first to get to it. There are two bolts holding the actual EGR valve on to the body, and there are another two holding this brass pipe here. What tends to happen with the EGR valve, because it's exhaust gas recirculation, the exhaust gases, once the engine's warm, get sucked back up and reburn, keeping the emissions down. But they do tend to, if it's an older engine, take in oil and the like, you know, gases. Because it's burnt gases, you get the burning anyway in the engine. That's why exhausts are always black and sooted. And what tends to happen then is, as it goes into the valve, because it's a valve that's opened, only it's probably a small hole, it tends to block up, and they also get so much crud on the actual opening and closing part of it that they don't open and close as easily as they should. Okay, so this shroud, that's plastic cover, is held on by 1, 2, 3, 4 Allen bolts. Okay, so you need your Allen keys, a good set of Allen keys, to actually get into it. So I'm just going to take these 4 out and lift this piece off. Okay, 3 of the bolts, the Allen nuts, are the smaller ones, but one of them, the top right hand one, is a long one. So it's obviously picking up a thread long way down in the engine block. So make sure that you mark which ones come out of where. Keep them all together safely, you don't want to drop them on the floor. Okay, so if I just put that down on the floor, that will now lift off. You can now get to the EGR valve here. There's an electrical connector on the top, you can just pull that off. Okay, some people say disconnect the battery. I might disconnect the battery in a moment, it won't cause a lot of grief. All you're doing is cleaning it up, and what will happen is the engine will then get itself sorted out with the engine management system. It might be a bit lumpy for a little while as it settles down, because it's so used to everything being choked up at the moment. Once everything's cleaned out, the engine management will set itself. Okay, I've taken the EGR valve off. It sits in on there. If you look, there are little shims, little gaskets, little metal gaskets, which you've got to make sure you don't lose and keep in the right place. So there's the EGR valve now removed. This other little thing is just a little bracket that was in the way, which sits on there in that position, just bolts in on there, which these wires were then just clipped into. And I've just done that to take that out of the way. These bolts here are Allen keys, or hexagonal bolts, so you don't even need a socket to get into those. As long as you've got an Allen set or hexagonal key set, you'll be fine getting that out. So now we're going to go ahead and clean it. Okay, here's the EGR valve. As you can see inside here, it's really black and gungy and sooty. So I'm going to clean that out. You can get EGR valve cleaner. See that in there? You can get special cleaner for the EGR valves, or you can use carb cleaner, carburetor cleaner, air intake cleaner. That's what I'm going to use. I've got some air intake cleaner and carb cleaner, so I'm going to give it a good soak. It can't pour out of that end, so I'm just going to fill it in here and clean it out, and hopefully it will make a difference. Okay, I see a lot of people spray carb cleaner into an EGR valve and then they wipe it out immediately. Leave it in there, let it do its stuff. It dissolves gum, varnish, dirt, everything. So keep it in there, leave it in there, let it, so don't just wipe it straight out. Let it do its thing. Leave it for a while. Try not to get it all over my camera. Okay, so there it is, it's all being cleaned out. You can see the stuff in there. Yeah, it's really, really dirty and gungy in there. Yeah. So, I mean, if you do clean your EGR valve out, if you clean it out, and you've still got a problem, then I would think that the EGR valve is on its last legs on the blink and not going to make much difference. But they do get sooted up. I have seen them before where they're actually blocked completely. In that case, you clean them right out and try them, or you may need to get a new one. I'm hoping this will get rid of the fault, but you can never tell. It hasn't done that much mileage, so I'm hoping a bit of a clean out might make a difference. Okay, so here's the EGR valve off of the 1.4 Lupo. I've cleaned all inside there, the hole you can see in front of you, and on that side as well. All it does is let hot air gas or hot exhaust gas through into the engine for a reburn again, but they do get clogged up. It wasn't too bad, this one, but it's thrown an intermittent fault every so often, and I'm starting to wonder whether the actual EGR valve is on the blink itself. There's a vacuum hose here that works off of the vacuum as well, so when the engine's at a certain temperature and the engine management thinks it's in the right position, everything's set, it will suck in the hot exhaust gas. But it was a bit burnt inside and a bit black. It looks black because of the light, but we're going to put it back on now. This is where it goes. Again, in there you can see the brass piece here. That's where the bolts go on to. Okay, so let's bolt him back on. Okay, so there it is. There's the EGR valve all placed in, ready to be tightened up. The Allen screws, one there, one underneath. The metal gaskets are all in place, and the nuts on the end. You can just see the nut there. They're a little bit tight, they're a little bit corroded, but not too bad. And there's one on the other side. Okay, so I said before that's a vacuum hose. It's not actually. There's a little blanking piece that sits in there, which is this piece here. Some have vacuum hoses, but this one isn't. This is just a little breather hose, but I should clean that out as well to make sure that is completely cleaned. Okay, so there's the EGR back in place. I'm just going to tighten up the screws and the nuts on there and connect her up and then start it up. So we've taken the EGR valve off, cleaned it up, put it all back on again. Let's give it a start. Well, it's running. There were no lights showing on the dash, so fingers crossed, hopefully that was the problem. If it keeps coming on, then we'll have to look a bit further in and maybe look at changing the EGR valve. But as you've seen, it's only held on with 4 bolts, 2 holding the body in and 2 holding the brass pipe that takes it back into the engine. Okay, thank you very much for watching.